International Criminal Court is now seeking an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister for their genocidal policies in Gaza. The report highlights in great detail how Israel targeted civilians and used starvation as a tool of war. The report also outlines the use of torture and the Israeli policy of using collective punishment in order to put pressure on Hamas. This is devastating for Israel because their legal argument was anyone trying to hold them accountable was an agent of Hamas, but this ICC prosecutor was Israeli approved. This arrest warrant also covers 3 leaders of Hamas over the October 7th attacks. Just wait until the ICC realized that Israel targeted their own civilians on October 7th and then blamed it on Hamas. The ICC even acknowledges that Hamas has a right to armed struggle. I guess Hamas was just too good at it, apparently. It also doesn't escape me that the ICC put arrest warrants on 3 leaders of Hamas while only putting arrest warrants on 2 Israeli leaders. They even charged Hamas with more counts, even buying into the false Israeli rape hoax using Israeli testimonies. And this is not an accident. But you see the little politicking they have to do just to get Israel held accountable? The West is in shambles because for the first time, they are seeing their little settler colonial project be held accountable. And it also implicates them. This sets up Western leaders like Genocide Joe being held accountable for being complicit with the genocide that Israel carried out. And Genocide Joe knew this. This is why his administration was doing everything possible to block arrest warrants on Netanyahu by the ICC. And obviously, Biden failed. I cannot emphasize how great of a day this is. This is the start of a new age of multipolarity. No longer will the Western rules-based order weaponize the ICC and international law in hypocritical ways in order to punish countries in the global south. We are now witnessing the global majority use the system of international law to hold the Zionist hegemon accountable for their crimes. We already have Israel that stated that they will ignore the ICC and continue their genocide in Rafah. So we are going to see how real international law really is here very soon. What's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome to a Tuesday, Nick at Noon edition of RBN Live. What's poppin', my friends and family? As always, big shout out to Hotspot. We have another Hotspot banger I was working on this morning because you guys know it's a new era. We got a whole new schedule in the way we were doing things. I mean, we got the Hotspot video I'm working on in the morning. Then I'm gonna come live to break down what I learned, the breaking news stories of the last 24 hours. And we covered yesterday, kind of getting my first reaction, going through everyone's initial response to the ICC ruling. And the establishment is handling this just as poorly as I imagined they would. It's all hands on deck for not only just the Zionist project, but the entire Western imperial core, in a way. Because as I mentioned before, as our dear sister Margaret Kimberly, who just gave an amazing speech, I think it was within the last day or so, what we covered was how the International Criminal Court has a history of essentially being a weapon used by Western imperial order in order to punish the global South, Africa, or any country that they deemed to be an enemy, or anyone who they want to control, any regime that they want to eventually overthrow. You even had Black Agenda Report, who wrote a great article called The Empire's Court. Once again, you guys know I got a lot of respect for Margaret Kimberly, Glenn Ford, the late Glenn Ford. You guys see, he wrote this in 2012. The ICC, The Empire's Court. And you also have this one as well, reported by Robin Philpott, the unbalanced scales of international criminal justice. So this has been long documented. That's why there are a lot of shock right now, not only among the Zionists who are in shambles over this decision, but among people who are supportive of liberating Palestine from this terrorist settler colonial project. And now we got a narrative victory over the Zionists that we will hold over their head forever. Because I've been saying for quite some time that Israeli Zionists are terrorists who believe they are above the law. They are war criminals who engage in illegal activity. And we can prove that by just our intelligence and the fact that we have receipts that back that claim up. But now we can, for the institutionalists, because that's what a lot of people who support the establishment, that's who they are. Now we can look at the institutionalists and be like, hey, man, you guys are standing against the foundations of international law. And I'm going to rub this into the end of time. Because imagine if Hamas was making the threats, challenging the ICC the way they have been. I'm going to show you guys Joe Biden's unhinged speech very soon, where he essentially doubles down on the Likud belief of Jewish supremacy. A lot of people are confused about why Biden is doing what he's doing. A lot of these young, dumb, progressive, not even young, but a lot of these Bernie-crats, I would say, are shocked at how bad this administration has been. And I warn people because Biden is the largest recipient of AIPAC money in history. He was supportive of every single Israeli campaign, even when you have people on the right, Ronald Reagan, that was speaking out against Israel. You had Biden who criticized Reagan for criticizing Israel's war plan. He's a staunch Zionist, not just out of corruption, but I think he's deeply ideologically driven as well. And that what happens when you are in the Senate for 40 years. You have a country that provided for you. Israel provided for Biden, my friends. Israel created him, made his entire career. The Biden family, his sons, the entire empire is because of Israel. So not only is there corruption, but you got to look at the human element of this. Like, Biden is probably legitimately thankful. He's surrounded. He's been surrounded by Zionists his entire life. So he's been deeply engrossed within the Zionist culture. So I think at the age of 81, 82, however old this crypt keeper is, I think at this point he looks like not only is he corrupt, which is a big part of it, he legitimately hardcore believe in Jewish supremacy. The idea that Israel, Israelis, the Jewish population, they can do whatever they want to their enemies because they are above the law. They are God's chosen people. That's my interpretation of his diehard support, because you have Biden and them, they're willing to take the entire Democratic Party. Biden is, in the Democrats, they said Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy we ever seen. Donald Trump is the biggest threat to our republic, but they're willing to sacrifice this because of Israel. And I think obviously there's corruption, but it has to be more than that. Maybe I'm being a sweet summer child. That's possible. Now I'm going to show you guys, this is why the Western leaders are in shambles, because they understood what the main objective of the ICC always been, was to punish and go after the global South and our enemies. And now this is incredible, and there are a lot of sweet summer children that are becoming radicalized, and I love it, guys. Like, I'm not picking on these people. Like, I'm willing to welcome these people with open arms, because there's a lot of people who thought I said radical stuff, that Black Agenda Report and Glenn Ford and Black Radicals, they thought we said radical stuff for clicks, likes, I don't know, because we've been telling people about how corrupt the ICC has been. Well, the entirety since I've been a citizen journalist. I extensively covered this with Mark Kimberly. I covered how you had John Bolton that put pressure on the ICC. You had Blinken and Biden, who rejoined the Security Council because they wanted to protect Israel from the ICC. This is not a new thing. Like, you guys can check the history of RBN. You guys can check my tweets. I have reported on the history of the ICC in both wings of the establishment, pressuring them for years. And people are just now waking up to the fact that the ICC is corrupt. So now listen to what this is, a damning admission. This is the prosecutor. He said when he received threats not to go after Israel, he revealed that a senior leader told him that the ICC is built for Africa and thugs like Putin. And I believe that senior official was from the United States. I might have to find a receipt to back that up. But let's listen to
of the individual is the protection of babies. I mean, these are fundamental American values that should engender bipartisan support. Now, of course, this situation, unfortunately, lies on the San Andreas fault of international politics and strategic interests. And of course, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and be very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin, was what one senior leader told me.
That's the kind of shit that black left has been saying, that then white America will turn to us and say we crazy radical conspiracy theorists. This has been like a core premise of what I've been covering for the last 3 years now. The Western hypocrisy and how it's been weaponized against the global South. Well, I actually trying to tell myself to stop saying that, because it's actually the global majority, because not just the global South, because you guys see they weaponize it against Russia and China. So let me correct myself. I'm trying to actively make that change, where not just the global South, it's the global majority. You have the United States sanctioning 1/3 of the world's population. They are waging war against China, against Russia. It's more than just the global South. They are waging this war against the global majority they're tired of the global majority resisting their forever empire and their rule. Going for de-dollarization, trying to challenge the power of the hegemon. But anyway, let's finish this clip. We have Liam Cosgrove scheduled to come on. Hopefully we get him on here very soon. Also, big announcement. My boomer ass is getting more modernized. Listen to a lot of suggestions from our friends and family. Big shout out to Sabby and JB, who Sabby was talking to me like, man, you need to get your ass on Telegram. My boomer ass like, bro, what's a fucking Telegram? I barely know what this, bro. It took me forever to learn how to stream on YouTube, bro. It took me forever to learn this shit. So all these new stuff be popping up, like, bro, I don't know what's going on. So I'm finally on Telegram now. So if you're on Telegram, I got a link to my new channel on Telegram in the description. You will see all my hotspots, all the live streams will be posted there as well. I don't really trust YouTube because of suppression, censorship. So we're in a new era. We're making a big push to branch out. Telegram is huge right now. And I'm just now learning about this because I'm like so out of fucking, I'm terrible with this stuff. I told you guys I'm a Midwestern country bumpkin. You know what I mean? But so if you're on Telegram, I appreciate the follow. I'm trying to build that up from scratch starting today. So if you want to leave me a follow, I appreciate that. Let's get back to this video. And then I'm going to show you guys this speech by Biden, which is easy. And I keep having to double down on this because he keep giving these speeches that are completely and utterly unhinged. As Xi Jinping in China is talking about building, talking about infrastructure projects, uplifting the quality of life for his people and for the allies of his countries, the people of the countries allied with. As he's talking about building and growing, you have Biden talking about war, death, denying genocide, attacking international criminal courts. The contrast between China, Xi Jinping, and the United States and our leaders, how they talk could not be clearer. And it's crazy that people still view China and the axis of resistance as evil for opposing this insanely evil empire that we pay taxes to. Let's get to this. Let's finish clip and we get to the speech.
Strategic interests. And of course, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and be very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin, was what one senior leader told me. We don't view it like that. This court is the legacy of Nuremberg. This court is a sad indictment of humanity. This court should be the triumph of law over power and brute force. Grab what you can, take what you want, do what you will. And we're going to simply be, we're not going to be dissuaded by threats or any other activities, because in the end, we have to fulfill our responsibilities as prosecutors, as the men and women of the office, as judges, as the registry.
Oh, man, you're such a politician. Now, and I think I made my point pretty clear in the last episode. This is a great thing. The panic you are seeing from Israeli officials is enough to highlight how big of a deal this is. The panic from the West, narrative alone, because obviously this is not going to bring down the Israeli regime, but the narrative alone for the Palestinian resistance, I cannot stress this enough. But I don't trust these institutionalists. This guy's a politician. He's like, we got these Western pressures, but I just got to assure you guys that I'm above it all. Shut the fuck up. You're not above it all. You are doing this because of pressure. Because the amount, as I said many times on live streams and through my hotspots, as much as Israel's on trial, international law, the ICC, this motherfucker in particular is on trial. So him do this whole act that he's doing, it kind of annoys me because I'm an asshole, I guess, who despise the people who are currently in charge and power. Because he's now trying to do this thing after waiting 7 months. After refusing to follow the suggestions made by South Africa to call for immediate ceasefire. After all this weakness in international law, you now want to come out and say, oh man, we really believe in human rights. We are above Western pressures. No, you're not. You're the one who is peddling the false rape hoax. Because in order for them to put the charges on Israel, and I covered this yesterday, they had to make sure that they charge more Hamas officials and put more counts on Hamas. And in order to put more counts on Hamas, they had to literally repeat with no evidence the rape hoax, where even the victims of the October 7th attacks, their families came out and said that their family members was not raped. And then when you look at the ICC file, because I read it in detail, the evidence they used to say that Hamas committed rape as a tool of war was Israeli testimony. Which is just as useful as Diddy saying, I'm sorry. Not anything the Israelis say, especially after their massive lies on the rape hoax, you're going to use them as a source in a court filing? That is damn near malpractice to do that. But with that said, I'm going to take the win as it is now. I just got to let you guys know what the criticisms of these people are, because we can't allow them to do this politician shit where they turn this tragedy into something they can write a book about. You guys have nothing to be proud about. The people who pressured you guys has something to be proud about. South Africa has something to be proud about. Ansar Allah in Yemen, they have something to be proud about. You guys don't. You guys did the bare minimum, and that's just how I feel about this. I understand. I'm not trying to be like a killjoy, because I understand there's a lot of happiness about this, but you guys know I generally hate Western institutions. I am very distrustful of the ICC, especially the way they crafted this, because remember, they are charging them with war crimes, which let them off the hook regarding genocide. You guys should be blessed. You guys should be thanking your gods every day that the ICC compared you to Hamas. Last time I checked, does Hamas have concentration camps? Does Hamas target the entire families of the people they go after? Does Hamas use starvation as a tool of war? Everything you guys accuse Hamas of, the worst thing you guys accuse Hamas of, Israel is guilty of. So as Israel was weaponizing sexual violence against Palestinians, as outlined by reporters and Palestinians themselves, the ICC left that part out. So as they charge Hamas with using sexual violence, they leave out the fact that Israel literally engaged in that same sexual violence, and they have a chief rabbi in the IDF that permits rape, the use of rape in war. It's a very common Jewish supremacist ideology that's widespread in Likud. So you guys see how, even though I'm okay with people celebrating, and it's something worth celebrating, we still have to maintain pressure and be critical of these international institutions.